feeding, the machine learning technology, feeding it songs from Eminem, Travis Scott, and then it producing a sound, an original song that is based off that work, poses so many legal issues.
It was a producer. They were like, yo, let's put Timbaland, Pharrell, Kanye, and let's make beats. And they made like 70 beats in an hour.
You just feed it to the machine and just it spits out a beat.
Or I can take Blxst's voice and I could be the person singing it. And it's his voice on my body.
As an artist, because that's kind of scary. Like, art is supposed to be curated by, it's a lot. Now, how do you feel about a machine just making art?
That's scary.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop. All right, guys, welcome back. This is our second home, which is quickly becoming our first home.
Yeah,
you see all the time now. We in LA.
Residents at this point.
And we got a special episode. So by now, this show that we have done will already have happened.
Yes.
So you would have known that we had a special performance from one of my favorite artists, Blxst.
Legendary performance.
Yeah, appreciate that. But it all stemmed from, what was that party? Where did we first initially connect? It was at it was a party. It was outside.
Was that Amazon for Grammy?
The Amazon, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Grammy week.
So you might be familiar with Blxst's music. I'm pretty sure you are. But a lot of times we don't know the business behind it. So his partners in the label, Victor and Karl, they have a label, Evgle. And it's interesting because it's an independent label. So for Earn Your Leisure, obviously business platform. So we're going to talk about the publishing. We're going to talk about trials and tribulations of running the label, partnerships, LA and Newark. we got both sides working here.
We can't forget Newark.
Venture capital, a bunch of stuff. And I feel like it's a dope conversation to have, especially at this time. So wanted to thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah. And I use your lyrics for my captions a lot.
I love it.
My favorite one is if you a big stepper, don't trip over small shit. That got a lot of traction when I posted like, yo, that's genius line.
Oh my God. Where'd you pull that one from?
yeah. Nah, so I appreciate that. You ghost written a lot of captions for me.
Yeah. And congrats. Just for clarity too.
It's out right now.
Officially out. You know what I'm saying? That's a good one. A nice little something to keep the taste buds.
Yeah, it's the appetizer.
The appetizer
to the meal. So, all right, let's start. So, all right, where do you guys meet at? Because you guys are from South Central, you're from Newark, but none of you knew each other, right? So, where do you meet, and where does the idea come to actually start working together?
I initially met Vic just renting out a studio in Culver City. It was a studio that he was running, and I would just go there, just trying to take time away from being at home with my son and stuff. So I found a spot, and he was just like, where your team at? Because he seen me doing everything, producing, recording myself. And he was like, nah, we got to put some plays together. So we came up with this thing called a content calendar, which we'll pick each date and pick something to post and just gauge the results from there. And then Karl, he had reached out from Instagram. This was
a minute ago too.
Sliding in the DMs early.
Yeah. So, but what's crazy is Vic's mom and my mom stay around the corner from each other, and we didn't even know each other growing up.
Oh, so y'all grew up next to each other, but y'all didn't know each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Dope.
Damn. Okay.
So, all right. So y'all build it. When does the label start?
Label started 2017. This was around the time I had my son, and initially, it was just something for me to represent myself, because I always looked at it like it's better when a company represents you versus you represent yourself. And I feel like Karl pretty much made it make sense for me, Vic as well. That was just the initial beginning of everything as far as Evgle.
But you was doing music prior to that, right? Before you had the actual label, you was putting out music just by yourself.
Nah, I was actually part of a collective before.
I don't want to get the. It's like what was the letters?
TIU.
TIU. I was like, I know some IU in it. I was about to say ICU, but I'm like, this ain't that.
ICU.
This is dangerous.
That's another collective.
Yeah.
So, all right. So so that's interesting. I remember Ash Cash said that, like, when an author, like, putting a book out, it's always better to seem like you have a publishing company as opposed to being an independent author. So he created a publishing company because it just looks better to have like one brick publishing produced his book as opposed to just Ash Cash, just the author. So the label, that's similar to that. So when you start the label, it's still with the purpose of you just being the solo artist on the label, but it just looks better if it's a label as opposed to you just hustling as an independent artist.
Yeah, I mean, of course we had goals to make it bigger eventually anyway, so we had to start somewhere, and I feel like it was perfect to start the foundation with myself, of course.
So what's each one of you guys' responsibility in the label?
So I mean, I'm the president of the label, and I'm also Blxst manager too, though. So wear both those hats.
Yeah, I'm the COO, co-founder too, but I'm also Blxst attorney.
Are you a lawyer?
Yeah, man. Yep. International.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We're going to talk about that. So you were managing that first, right? So where did you get the background in that? Or is that something that you saw the talent and you said, all right, let me see where I can help? Or like, did you have experience prior?
I mean, I never wanted to work in music ever. That wasn't really my goal when I was in college. I played football in college. So I went to University of Washington, went to graduate school in Southern Illinois. So when I moved home, I was working for Benny Boom. I was doing like all their product merchandising. I started working with Dame Dash a little bit. So like I was really more so in the content distribution world, in the product distribution world. And from there, it's really just like the skills I took from playing football. I was already running my own company, making merchandise, throwing events. So just taking the intangibles from those, I was like, shit, you already a one-man show. I could really just plug in these different outlets around your pre-existing talent, and then we can try to go to the moon with it. So really, that's where it all conjured up from.
So all right. So when does this really start to take off? Because I think I got turned on to your music probably like 18 months ago. I think that's when like the wave really started to hit, at least on the East Coast. I'm not sure, you probably had a buzz out here already. But when does this go from, okay, this is becoming a mainstream situation?
I would say when we did the partnership with Red Bull, I mean, I definitely had a buzz dropping music with Bino Rideau, which is from LA as well. We got this project called The Six Tape. And I felt like No Love Lost was my follow-up solo project. And I feel like that made the noise. That's what had Chosen.
Yeah.
And went double platinum straight out the gate.
And what year was that?
2020?
2020.
2020,
yeah.
It dropped the end of 2020.
Yeah, and we knew Bino from being with Nip. So I was like familiar with that.
He did a tape with Nip.
Yeah. That was the Stuck in the Grind. I remember he's on all over that Stuck in the Grind LP. That's dope. So the Red Bull situation is interesting, right? And Karl, I'm sure you had your hands all over this. So Red Bull, it was obviously we know it as a drink, right? But we didn't know that they were making actual artists. So how did you approach them and make this deal happen? Because this is the first tape that y'all put out, right?
For sure. I mean, I always talk to Vic about it. I mean, like, you know, everybody in the industry was like, you know, what label are you picking, right? It was a conversation like, what label are you going to? But, you know, I think Red Bull offered something that the labels couldn't, which is like, you know, that can's in every single place across the globe. Like, and not only do they have the can, but they have F1. Not only do they have F1, they got, you know, culture teams in every little city. So it just made sense. We were like, you know, what don't we have? What don't we have access to? And they just had it. So they came to us. They have a record side. Most people don't know that Red Bull as a record label. A&R kind of contacted us and just went from there.
So what exactly was the partnership with Red Bull? Were they like 50-50 partners in the distribution of the music, or did they? Yeah.
It's 50. It's
like a label deal.
Yeah, it's like a partnership. Definitely more. I would say definitely more of a partnership. And then they gave us overhead to sort of build our company out. And we're still in business today. We're signing artists with them. We got an office at Red Bull. So it's cool. It's a really, really cool partnership for sure.
So what makes you want to? All right, but. What makes you want to choose Red Bull over? Because I'm assuming like you had a lot of labels that were offering you situations. Because it's still not Red Bull is still not a music company. So even though they have a lot of distribution and they have a big name, most people would have just went with a music company because that's what they specialize in. So what made you want to choose a product a liquid product company as opposed to a music distribution company?
I think we were kind of like, we are the culture. Like, we are the music. We are the, you know, all of us. Like, all of us together, we feel like in our respective cities, you know, we've been doing this for a long time, and Blxst music's incredible. You know, his ear, his you know, his taste, everything about it. So we were like, the music's fine. The culture, like, you know, we don't need nobody to help us build culture or community. Like, no label can teach us how to do that. So we just wanted a partner that could, you know, give us stuff that we didn't have access to.
Yeah. So does I'm just envisioning this now, and from just the standpoint of, like, as you're looking on a global scale, is the music showing up everywhere that Red Bull shows up? And so we know they're big in, like, MLS, and we know they're big internationally. Are you thinking that from the start? And did that take convincing, right? Like, hey, I got this opportunity, or is everybody on board? Like, yeah, okay, we'll do this.
Yeah, I think it was up in the air first with me. So I wrote my dissertation on Red Bull in grad school.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of already knew, like, the different avenues. I mean, we joke all the time, but, like, my favorite term is vertical integration. That's what I wrote my paper on. So that's how I even understood the fact of, I mean, everybody know the music world, they really make their money off all their recoupable expenses that they dish out. So, you know, you start looking at Red Bull and looking at their different mediums, a lot of that stuff is non-recoupable costs when you start doing business with the outside entities. So where it is, I mean, I know we're going to talk about the venture stuff later, but where it is, like, our artists will have to go back, take that first lump sum of money and buy their masters back. In this situation, we was able to procure business terms to where we didn't even have to go through that first step. We automatically obtain all that from the jump. And then we go in and really invest right away, rather than being like, all right, I got to really play this long game, go to these major labels, kiss their ass, try to get my shit back, buy it overpriced. And then now, when I'm like 35, 40, I can start getting really into this investment. So it's like, nah, we wanted to do that now. And I think the biggest thing is business is problem solving. So at the end of the day, Red Bull needed a problem to be solved, which was they never really had a real prominent hip hop act in Los Angeles where their office is. And us really being from Los Angeles solved that problem for them. So it's like, I always say it's like the cool kids when they sat with the nerds. Like, it's cool. Like, we wouldn't have got the answer. Gave you the swag. You know what I mean? Yeah. Respectfully, though. Respectfully.
Shout out to Red Bull. So, all right. You said something, integrated vertically. And shout out to Nip, rest in peace. That was one of my favorite lines that he used as far as the integrated vertically. Y'all niggas blew it. And we talk about that, like, with Apple, right? That's probably, I think Apple has done the best job of being vertically integrated. So obviously that's something that you guys, you know, practice. So how does that look in your business model?
I mean, man, I think everything starts with just how we operate from the jump. I mean, we have 11 employees right now. Everybody, like, on payroll. We got another X amount of contractors as well. So everything from the start in the epicenter is really controlled by us as far as how things are distributed, how they look, the feel of it all. But I think that's a direct reflection of Blxst too, though, because when I first met him, like he said, he was doing the graphic design, editing the videos, mixing the music, recording himself. So I couldn't believe. I'm like, bro, you were in the studio spending your money. Like, how are you being productive in here? Until I actually went in there and he was like, yeah, I do all this, and this. So I couldn't see how the business model couldn't reflect what Blxst is doing, you know?
Yeah, so you got your masters, obviously the publishing as well, right? And then you did something unique. You started not only just having writers, but started signing writers. So, like, the business plan going into it, like, who's coming up with that, right? Is that, like, the vision from the beginning?
I think so. I think the vision was kind of, how do we... I think this is just like, it's an idea company. It's like, how can we do stuff? Not we're cool. We're a cool company because the music's just like is one vehicle. It's one aspect of it, and that's how we always viewed it. So, but you got to be really good at music. And talking about vertical integration is like, how do we own that process? So at Blxst, you know, it becomes it makes less sense for Blxst to write the songs, produce all the music. Just from a time standpoint, it's like, why would you do that? You know, you guys built an amazing business for yourself. You're like, cool, you know, now let's get some help. Like, let's make sure everything's set up. So I think we were like, cool, how do we put out more product more efficiently and grow our company? And, you know, it was signing more artists, signing more songwriters, signing more producers, and like Vic said, it's just owning the process.
So, but you're an entertainment attorney.
Correct.
Right. So as you're building this, are you still practicing in your own, like the Fowlkes firm is a real thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So how are you managing both?
Man, it's funny. I got a lot of clients. Like I rep a lot of artists, producers, creative companies, businesses, but I'm not a traditional attorney. Like I think for me, I always saw law as a way to like get into conversations that I probably wouldn't be privy to, understand the business from a high level. As a lawyer, you see every contract, you see all the back end of every business. Like, I know what's going on at, this label, I know what's going on at that company. So I feel like insider trader. Yeah. And I'm just bringing it back to the home team. That's how I feel. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because the lawyer, like you said, to run a label, you have a competitive advantage being a lawyer, because now it's like, that's the number one thing. Like, oh, the lawyer screwed me. I didn't know the business. You can't really say that if you're a lawyer.
Yeah.
Nobody to blame but yourself.
We always talk about it too. It's like, I'm also a professor at Drexel.
Yeah,
so I teach the music business. So our first convos are like, Vic just said, he's like, he's a business guy, not really a music guy. Like, he's like, yo, I do business. And, Blxst an artist. So obviously he knew a lot about the business. But, our first year or two, we were just having master classes in the back. Yo, here's publishing. Like, here's how you collect all the royalties. Here's how you distribute the music all over. And, we're doing the same education for all our employees.
So that's a big thing, right? So collecting publishing, we always talk about publishing, but people don't talk about how people get the money from it a lot. So I know like ASCAP is involved in that. So can you break that down, how people or artists can collect money from their obviously their IP?
Yeah, publishing's just a collection sport. It's like really just collection. When you think about publishing, it's just collection. So you put the music out and then you collect your royalties. And on the pub side, you think about streaming, there's a publishing royalty that's generated every time a song is streamed. Every single time you push play, there's a publishing royalty generated. Every time a song is played on the radio, there's a publishing royalty generated. Then there's a public performance. So every time a song is played in stadiums, hotels, they should be licensing that music. So that's when you realize like where you're getting your publishing royalties, you could sort of create sounds and music that sort of appeals to those places. But that's really that's publishing. It's just a collection sport. And, I think most people think about publishing from like a US standpoint, but it's really an international game too. Like, they're playing your song in South Korea. They're playing your song in Japan. They're playing your song in China. What's the collection side over there? Like, how do you collect your royalties in all these foreign territories? So you need an admin partner. And I think Warner's been a great partner for us. Shout out to like Ryan Press, Wallace, those guys. Yeah.
So Ryan Leslie was talking about that with us, with the international play, with the publishing and all that. So for musical arts, so Blxst, you write music and you sing, right? So from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, 50% of publishing goes to the songwriter producer, 50% goes to the artist. Is that correct?
Man, the fact that you know this much about publishing is kind of crazy. Yeah.
I think it too.
We've had a few conversations.
Yeah. 50% goes to the songwriter, 50% goes to the producer. So like if you're an artist who is putting out music, you might not necessarily have any publishing if you didn't write the song, you didn't produce the song.
Yeah, right.
This is a guy who writes and produces the song.
So 100%.
100%er. So that's like if to a publisher's eyes, that's like the greatest person you ever see.
He's smiling within, y'all. Trust me.
So Blxst, let's talk about
Thank you.
Let's talk about the music. How did you do everything, right? So you said like from the producing, from the singing to are you trained like that, or you just taught yourself?
I just taught myself. I think just being bored, because this was around the time, like when I got into music, I had moved to the IE, which is like an hour outside of LA. So I was at home a lot, like I wasn't really outside like that. And I was just being a nerd on YouTube, just trying to figure out how to do everything. And I just fell in love with the process overall. Like it didn't feel like I was working or learning. It just felt like I was in the moment, So it kind of came natural to me to want to produce and want to write, and seeing people like Ryan Leslie, seeing people like Pharrell, Kanye in the studio, jumping from the keyboard to jumping in the booth. It was just like, yeah, I got to be that type of artist.
Hit Boy from IE, right?
Yeah.
Did you know?
I didn't know him coming up, nah.
Okay.
But I know he's from Fontana for sure.
It's crazy when I saw you on the freshman cover, right? But I'm thinking you make music. I don't know if it's hip hop or if it's R&B. It just feels like authentic music to a region. Like when I hear your songs, I'm like, yo, this sounds like West Coast. And I was telling Shawty on the way here, I'm like, it reminded me of like when I heard like a guy like Donnell Jones, I'm like, yo, that's Atlanta for that time capsule. So I'm wondering, like, when you're making the music, are you intentionally saying like, I want people to feel like where I'm from. I want them to have that vibe?
I think it just naturally come out of me, like just the natural influences, the DJ Quicks and Dr. Dre's. I can't escape it. I don't think it's an intentional thing, but I do feel like I intend to, keep the soul alive, like the love and the message is intentional. Like I try to speak on a positive spectrum of things.
Yeah.
So I would say my message is more intentional.
Because to me, when I listen to it, it feels like, and this is why I use your captions a lot, because it feels like rap in an R&B. It's not like Marvin Gaye R&B. It's like new age R&B. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's hip hop. Like, and I feel like, but that has morphed. Because even if you look at Chris Brown, it's a lot of the new music as far as on the R&B space is in that vein where it's like kind of a hybrid.
Yeah, some of these dudes is really spitting.
Did you rap at all?
Absolutely. I feel like I came up rapping because I was more insecure about my voice when I first started making music. I didn't really get confident with putting out like R&B type rap songs until like my voice developed, you feel me? Yeah. But I'm a big rap fan before anything. So.
Yeah. When I'm listening to it, I'm like, yo, I know this dude like grew up on 90s R&B. Like I'm listening to it, like I hear the Donnell sample, I hear the Case sample, and I'm like, then I looked, I'm like, born in 93. Like, wait, maybe he wasn't. So where did you get the influence for the sound, right? Because like I hear those samples, I'm like, oh damn, that reminded me of like when I was a teenager. So I'm like, wait, he was like 4. There's no way, right? Like,
crazy. I'm the youngest in my family. I grew up with all older sisters, so that was the cheat code. I pretty much just took everything they was listening to and just incorporated it into my music. I feel like I give all my taste, I get it off of my sister. Like that's who I used to look up to when it came to music.
So let's talk about the venture capital. You guys investing in companies?
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Leslie too. I mean, we talked to Ryan. We were in London for like Blxst first show out there, and Ryan.
I know somebody that went there.
Really?
She was put it on an Instagram story, and I'm like, yo, I rock with his music. She's like, I love this guy. I saw it. I actually saw the show from her Instagram.
That's hard. When we were out there, Ryan Leslie was out there. So I ended up meeting him at like like a hotel. We sat there in the lobby for like an hour or two and just chopped it up. And I definitely say like in terms of like converting like the culture into capital or converting culture into commerce, like I feel like he's he's the guy, like, right? Like turning music money into like legacy, like generational wealth building. So for us, it was, at this stage, I mean, Vic kind of pointed to it earlier, like, the fact that Blxst, owns the stuff, the fact that we have, a partnership where we get overhead and we're able to grow and scale. We didn't want to wait 10 to 15 years to start sort of investing back in the community or investing in the product. So a lot of the stuff we invest in now is stuff that we can impact, like, consumer products. So it's like, a post that he could post us. We could throw like a party and we could put some of our consumer products, at the party, right? We could post it ourselves and generate buzz for it. So we get a discount on the equity. Or like, a company like Rec Philly, shout out to those guys.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah. We invested in Rec Philly.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We those guys are really hard. But, they call themselves like a gym for creatives. So talking about owning the whole process, they got like the studios, they got the arts, they got the design studios, they got the Live Nation stage, they got like the co-working space. So it's like they're the definition of vertical integration. Like you get your $50 membership and you can literally, put out a song and perform it at the place. So we're just investing in companies that I think that we align with right now. But I think when you get money, I think it becomes like a M&A game at some point, or a private equity. You gotta start buying stuff that's in your field and that you can control.
You know A16Z?
Yeah.
You involved with that?
No, the Culture Fund, right?
Yeah.
No, we're not involved, but
we know some people that can introduce you.
Yeah, that'd be
You interested?
For sure.
We can make, I see.
Yeah, we're gonna make that happen.
That's our people. Megan, you know Chris Lyons?
Heard about him. Yeah.
We just had dinner with him the other day. So they're good too because they obviously Andreessen Horowitz is like probably the biggest venture capital firm in the world. So the Cultural Leadership Fund, I'm just speaking to the audience. The Cultural Leadership Fund is a division of that geared towards Black people, for short explanation. People like in entertainment world, stuff like that. But so they invest in all these companies, but then they bring the side deals to you as well. So it's like they'll invest in 100 companies, but then you can invest in individual companies as well. So we've invested in like probably 4 or 5 individual.
Yeah, we got number 7 on the way.
But the good thing with that is that they do the research already. So it's like it already goes through a filter process. So by the time that they're invested in, nothing in venture is guaranteed, but it's like they got to check off so many boxes for them to invest in it.
For sure.
So it's like when they bring it to you, it's like, it's fully vetted. So
and it's one of those things where it's like young people of color can get into the space, right, through a vetted process, right? So obviously a lot of people in athletics and music have capital, or they have liquidation, and they have cash, and they know what to do with it. And so it gives them an opportunity to educate, but also invest too. You said something early, Blxst, about the content calendar. And I started thinking, as an independent label, obviously the partnership with Red Bull, is it still that process when you're trying to create a project? Obviously, you just put out the new project. But when you're creating, is it like, yo, we have this mapped out, here's how we're going to do it? Or it's like, yo, it's just kind of a vibe and I'm in the mood to create?
Nah, you're definitely still hands-on with everything. But we still scaling everything too. Like we just brought on creative. Shout out Maya, which is here right now. But I think for me, it's more so about delegating to people that I can trust, So internally, I have to be hands-on. At Evgle, we have to be hands-on before we even get approval from anything on the other side, So, yeah.
How important is it to balance being an artist and running a label? Because it's like sometimes like people like, the artists, they just want to be artists. They got to be in their artistic vibe. And then the business people got to be in their business vibe. So is there any, obviously, all you guys work together, but for you specifically, do you ever think about business too much, or do you think about art too much? Like, how's that balance?
Nah, I don't. I feel like I found my balance like just recently. But again, it goes into trusting, Karl and Vic make it to where I can solely focus on the music, and they still give me updates on what's going on. It's just like a funnel of information to where the information is not too high or it's not too low. It's like, it's perfect for me to keep my momentum. Because I think the most important thing is the art. That's what's driving everything at the end of the day. And that has to remain authentic, has to remain genuine and intentional before anything.
Yeah. So as he's creating the art, I guess, are you now looking for the talent as well? Right? Like, what's that process like for y'all? Because obviously this is the main focus, and he's obviously a partner. Are we looking for new talent to say, all right, let's expand outside of just what we know?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say like we scouring the earth like for the next blast. But I think we take it as it all comes to us. I mean, a lot of these things come naturally. Synergy is created naturally. I mean, the essence of our company in general is nothing is fabricated. So I think just even creating these relationships with artists and understanding like the values and the morals that we have as a company is kind of like some of the stuff is damn near like out of bounds for us just because like their morality don't line up with the business ethics or the business acumen that we have. But I think in every area we looking to expand though. I mean, I think that's how we stay competitive. I mean, that's how Blxst stays fresh as a businessman. I think that's probably like one of the most, I mean, bringing up, me speaking as a manager, like working with an artist and actually seeing like, all right, this is like your real potential. And then let's see what happens when we actually load it up and really try to take it to the finish line. And when you actually get that, I mean, I feel like that sigh of relief is damn near like, okay, I did it one time, but it's damn near like you see all these people out here trying to achieve this music goal, and it damn near seems unachievable when you see how much music get put out every day and stuff like that, and how many artists are trying to actually reach that ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for us, but going back to the original point, just as far as like building, scaling, I think in every area we trying to definitely max out our potential.
Talk about artist management. That's something that a lot of people don't fully understand, why it's important, what the responsibilities of a manager is. Yeah, you talk about that?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I played football, so I played middle linebacker in college. So I called all the plays. So I'm getting 350-pound defensive linemen lined up, right? So this not, I mean, I feel like this is very synonymous with that, like talking to employees, making sure that we actually delegating tasks properly, and then just accountability. Like, I mean, I would say it's multiple different types of managers, but like, I'm a manager, but I also look at myself as more so like I operate more in that president role, I guess you could say. But it's just about me. I get up damn near 5:30 every day, but I'm used to that because of sports. I'm used to that because of the team stuff. And then also just challenging Blxst and making him uncomfortable before anybody else can make him uncomfortable. Having those uncomfortable conversations. Like me and him to have multiple one-on-one sit-downs where it's just like we working through stuff and just growing pains, just building a friendship, building a business, building that manager-artist relationship. So I think that just as much as the artist is investing in themselves and trying to sharpen their tools, like I got to do the same exact thing too.
Carl, you said internationally known as a entertainment attorney, and I heard obviously the show in London, and so it makes me think about the strategic plan to have him become a global artist. A lot of times people create locally, and their sound stays local. What metrics, what analytics are you using to say like, all right, London's a place we can go, or the next international city is a place we can go? How did that happen?
Man, I think London chose Blxst for sure. Like I think outside of LA, I don't want to. I know we have metrics to back it up, but I think London's probably a second home.
It is.
Like we go out to London, it's like, you know, it's crazy. So I think the listening metrics, Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, that told us that London was the top market outside of LA. And then you put up a show link and it sells out like this. That also tells you, okay, nah, this is crazy. But you think about like it, you know, London's a really black city. Like London, there's like, you know, it's like the Africa pipeline doesn't really start in America. It's like you go out to London, it's like, you know, everybody is from Ghana or Nigeria. And you know, so it felt like you know, we haven't been to Africa and we're going this year, but it felt like a bridge to Africa. Like, you know, that's what London feels like for me.
It's like everybody out there is first generation.
First generation.
A lot of immigrants. We did a show in London. It was amazing. And London, the energy out there, like you said, is different because when you're an immigrant, you have a different level of psyche, I feel like. I mean, like your parents are just teaching you just to fit into society. And then they're looking at us and the way that we're doing things. They're kind of like renegades to the whole situation. So it gives not only education, but inspiration and motivation as well. So it's like, you know, and like Toronto, Canada, another one.
Toronto's just like
places where it's a lot of black people, but they don't have that same, like in America, I think we take a lot of things for granted. Because we've been here, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, of course there's issues with America, but it's like the opportunities that we have in America, a lot of people don't have those opportunities in different places. So it's like, even from a music standpoint, like it's harder to break out of Toronto and London. Like Drake has done it, and a few artists have done it, but look at those artists compared to hundreds and thousands of artists that have done it in America, right? Like there's still not really a huge rapper. Like Central C is making headway, but think about it, there's still not really a huge, shout out to Gigs, but nobody has become Drake out of London.
And Skepta, shout out to Skepta.
Ever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of crazy if you think about it.
Yeah. No, that's a fact. I mean, nobody has come like, but I also would say like, I think like art just comes from like a broken fabric. And I think, you know, the best art comes from America. And I think like, you know, you think about the generations of hurt and pain and, you know, you think about LA, you know, South Central, the riots to, you know, the way black people came here, the way, you know, people lost their property, right? I was looking up Oakwood, right? Oakwood in Venice. And I was like, you know, people's owning their homes. It was like a real black place. And you know, you go to Venice now, you go to Oakwood, it's like the black population dropped from like 35 to like 16%. And that's the best that's some of the best real estate in LA. It's Venice, like right near the water, right near the airport. So I think art is kind of like I think the reason why some of those, not saying there's not a struggle in London, because there is obviously, but like, you know, it feels like Black people in America have kind of been leading like the global civil rights movement for the longest of time in challenging everything. And I think the art's reflective of that.
No, that's a fact. That is a fact. So as far as partnerships, right? You guys obviously have a partnership with Red Bull. But you have any other partnerships, and is partnerships and collaborations part of your like strategy moving forward?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the baseline of everything. I'm planning on giving the keys to anybody. I mean, especially the foundation we set up to this point. Like Karl mentioned it earlier, we had every single music label exec, every chairman tell us like, you can't break a radio single at Red Bull. You're not going to be able to achieve these numbers, blah, 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 blah. And I just was like, shit, hang up in the middle of their face. Like, bro, you're not going to tell me what we can and cannot do.
You learn from Dame Dash, I see.
Spend some time with him.
Shout out to Dame.
But I mean, at this point, we didn't shot all those records down. Like, we checked off every box that they said an artist in an independent structure could check. And I think that's heavily based off the fact that we are the culture and we come with the culture, and these relationships that we've procured, whether it be Kendrick Lamar, whether it be Nas, whether it be Rick Ross, like they all organic through some type of network channel that we already pre-existing had. So as we continue to do that, I mean, I think that with the partnership situation, I think everybody understands going into business with Evgle, like that's what it's gonna be.
The Nas joint was dope.
Yeah.
So when I'm in Blxst space, like that was the brunch on Sunday.
Brunch on Sunday, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Grammy nominated.
Crazy.
Did we not say that at the start of the show?
I don't think
Did we
I
not?
did.
We did not.
I didn't forget myself.
No, we got to acknowledge that, man. Grammy nominated. Obviously, you know, you've been grinding, obviously, from LA. So to be Grammy nominated for, you know, a song with Kendrick.
What?
I mean, what was that like for the label, right? This is an independent, 3 guys, obviously, some employees, but you're like, yo, damn, we've been in this game maybe 5-6 years. We already nominated for something. What was that like?
I want to hear your perspective on this.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think it mattered, to be honest. Like, I literally don't think it's cool. I think some people want us to be happier, but it's like, I think the fabric of Evgle is like, yo, we already believe. Like, to even look at a record label and be like, we're not signing with y'all because we know the music is good. We know we got these relationships. It kind of just takes a different type of confidence and faith. So I think we feel like that's just that's a part of the process, and we want to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, cool, the nomination's dope, but it's like, yo, we want to win it. And,
I definitely thought that was going to be Vic's answer. I'm glad you said it, Karl.
Yeah. And that's another, we kind of all this, like, it's a good and bad thing. I think, you know, we do it in different ways, but like, we're literally all kind of the same. Like, the fabric of the company is like, you know, we're definitely not we're not going to go into office and get hold, right? You know what I'm saying? They're not going to come and tell us lies, and it's just not us. Like, all 3 of us, like, he might be quiet about it. You know, Vic might be louder about it. You know, I might be more suit and tie about it, but we all like the same fabric. We're going to own this shit. Like, regardless.
So, like, you spoke about Kendrick. Do you guys have any inspirations as far as looking at labels like a TDE or like you know, whatever, like
Money
right. Like, do you guys get mentorship from any of those people, and do you guys like look at those type of people where it's like, all right, this is something that we can use and kind of model some things out there?
I wouldn't say like mentorship, to be honest with you. I mean, that's no disrespect to nobody, but I just think that even the way when we came in, I mean, the state of we did that deal in the pandemic. So, and the state of music in Los Angeles was so different from when Blxst was starting to really like create that large buzz, that the whole sound of everything, it was going from like gangbang ratchet to smooth melodic. So it was like that transition.
That's a new category.
Gang ratchet.
Oh, I swear to you. But you know, just that transition, I think that it changed everything. I mean, music changed people's moods, how they move around. You started to see people just in different pockets, people trying to make different type of music, more positive music. And I think Blxst definitely set the tone to make that cool. Outside of people like Kalen For Real, Bino Rideau.
Well, I think that there is a pocket of, so like Sir, Boogie, Blxst. I feel like it's kind of in a similar type of pocket coming out of California.
It's
like
a dope
that.
sound.
It's like a new R&B, hip hop infusion type vibe.
Sure.
Even like I was thinking like, yo, who has that LA R&B? And I'm like, no, there's a couple. Like you just named some. Kalani got that sound. I feel like
Kalani.
No, she has a sound is what I'm saying. Like it's R&B. Janae.
I don't really put them.
I'm just saying R&B. Like
but
it's just like a vibe.
I feel like Sir. I like Sir a lot.
Yeah.
The Kid Boogie and Blxst, and there's a few other people where it just feels like it's even Ty Dolla $ign.
Dolla $ign is another one.
Dolla $ign.
Dolla $ign's definitely another one.
In that bucket as well. But it's all it's similar type of genre of West Coast new R&B type music.
And I think it's super reflective of just like what our direct influences were in the city too. Like you got Dom Kennedy and Nip. I mean, both their companies are real business terms. I mean, All Money In and OPM, like those are two of the bases of business. So when you think about that and that's right in front of your face, you kind of get inspired inadvertently. Even just watching their program, how they moved around, how they operate, and how they stood on it too.
The demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
So y'all from South Central. Did y'all know Nip at all?
Nah, I never knew Nip personally, but I definitely, I grew up.
Like, feel like you know.
Oh, God, right?
Just the energy.
For sure.
How was the energy in LA? Like, because we got, it kind of hit New York like victory lap. Like, that's when he became big in the East Coast, but that was obviously the end of the situation. So how was it like with the Bullets Had No Names, mixtapes, and all of that? Like
that came out like my junior year in high school. So, I mean, you see the video, like Nip first video, that Hustle in the House, you like, damn, like everybody know that gas station on Crenshaw and Slauson. So you like, oh my God, there's really hundreds and hundreds of people out here. Like I wasn't the one to get no gas that day, right? but I think just the immediate impact of Nip was just like, damn, you got somebody that is rapping and that sounds like LA, but the production value is so high that it was like, this is actually like tasteful and I can actually rock with this. Aside from all the crazy business stuff he was doing already.
That's dope. That's dope.
You see, one of the verticals, obviously, is you said the publishing company. Yeah, I got the songwriters. But fashion is one of those things that's listed. What's the plans for that?
I mean, we got a merch partnership. So another partnership on the table. And I think, again, early on, Blxst being so creative and understanding how to really kind of like conjure up a vision and consistency through branding. Like he was doing stuff that he didn't even understand that he was doing, right? And I'm just like, damn, somebody made you like a color palette or like a color code or something? Like, how you coming up with all of this? And it was really just so natural that when we started moving forward and making this merch, we walked into all these meetings showing like, we've already sold X amount of merch independently. We've already did all this so that, you know, you got to kind of have proof of concept when you want to have ownership of all this stuff. So when we walked in with proof of concept and showing that, all right, this is our merch business, this is the merchandising factory we work with, this is how fast we can produce merch, they didn't have no problem handing that over to us. And I think now in this stage, our tour merch goes so crazy that it's like, I think our big focus this year is just making sure that consistently year round, that even when we're not on the road, that our merch business is growing in every single space, from product to the delivery, to the packaging, even down just to the customer experience.
So you said your tour and being on the road, obviously that's a major part in any artist's career. Do you do that yourself as far as book the venues or do you work with somebody like Live Nation to help out with that?
Yeah, we did our whole last tour with Live Nation. We got William Morris Entertainment as our agency. Shout out to both of them. They did a super dope job.
Okay, dope. Are you hands-on with that or you just let them just...
Hell yeah.
No, I think I would say we're hands-on.
Yeah,
for sure.
we approving every stop. We're approving pretty much how we doing it, the capacity. But that's why we chose them as a partner too, right? Like, because we respect their opinion. We trust what they've already done in the game, and they coming to us and really like teaching us and mentoring us how to be able to move through this world. Because ultimately, we getting money together, so it's not like it's mutually beneficial for both parties.
Yeah, and when you're looking at them deals, are we looking at it line item like, yo, we need percentage of if there's a bar in the venue, we need percentage of concessions. We're doing all this.
Yeah, no, we definitely did. I mean, every venue has a different merch rate. So it's like some venues are like, yo, we need 20% of the merch.
Yeah.
Fact.
Some venues I need 5% of them. Like, yeah, we went through all of that.
And you can't sell it.
Yeah, or you can't sell it. Yeah.
That's stuff that even so when we do it ourselves, and that's stuff that we had to learn so we have a big festival called Invest Fest in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And that's at the Georgia World Congress Center. A venue like that, we buy the venue for the weekend and we control the venue. So we sell merch, whatever we do, we get 100%. But then we do an event at MSG, and that's a Ticketmaster event. So then it's like, all right, well, it's 20% that you got to give to them. They got to sell a merch for you. It's a bunch of different things. And it's like, even with getting paid, we had to learn that, because it's like, going back to GWCC, we set the ticket thing up ourselves, and it's daily deposits that come in. Anytime somebody buys a ticket, the next day we get paid from that,
Right.
Which is good, because if you're funding something yourself, then you need the money.
Yeah.
But then it's like, all right, a Ticketmaster venue, we don't get paid until like 30 days after the event, which you just got to be able to budget that, because it's like, all right, you're not going to get this money until it's over. So make sure you got money on reserve. This is stuff that you don't really know unless you actually are in it and doing it.
Yeah, Karl,
learn it.
We trying to put net now into the contract.
Yeah, that net 30, net 60, net 90. By net 90, it's over. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole different year by net 90.
When they put net 90 in, I think the most obvious thing that thing is going to happen is that you're going to forget.
Yeah.
It's like 3 months later.
Right.
And you got so many things happen. It's like, wait, what happened? Did we get?
The net 90 is.
Yeah, so we trying to work on the net now.
Net now.
I think the net thing is like the core of the problem with the music business, right? It's like, if more teams had liquidity, right, money in their pocket now, like they wouldn't have to do so many bad deals. But like publishing's a back end sport. It takes 9 months to collect. Like Chosen could be at radio #1, but you're not getting that money right now.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
It's 9 months away.
You know what's so crazy? Y'all, how old are y'all?
30.
30.
Yeah.
30?
Yeah.
Oh, you all 30?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So we're not that far off in age. But so Ghostface.
They're a different generation.
It's different generation for sure, but not that far.
Yeah.
But so Ghostface got one of the best lines of all time when he was like, waiting on these royalties take too long. It's like waiting on babies.
Yeah.
Like, it's like 9 months. Like,
It's
crazy.
It almost makes you have to take an advance, right?
Yeah.
Like in our industry, an advance can be paralyzing. Like you take a advance and now all of a sudden your business is compromised at so many different levels because you got to pay that back. You have less freedom. So I think like real-time royalty payouts, like if you think about the next technologies in the industry that are going to change things for creators, I think that's the sort of
real-time royalty payments. So is that anything like, is that blockchain technology?
I think it is blockchain. Yeah. I talk a lot about how that was what I saw blockchain. Everybody had their sort of theories on what blockchain was going to help. But as it related to the music industry, I thought it was going to help in two places. I thought metadata, right? Like chain of record.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get paid because songwriter splits are off. The information is not at one spot and it's not, there's no chain of record. So I thought, blockchain would help with that. And then real-time royalty payouts. But, so much stuff lives off chain that like, when I see like an NFT go up for like a music royalty, I'm like, that's a joke. Like it's a joke. Like you're never going to get paid because we're all not getting paid from record labels. Like you own 20% of a song that you're not going to get royalties from because you got to go through the same royalty process we do.
Yeah.
So when things go on chain, when I think like, we actually get stuff like faster, that's going to be the truer creator economy in my opinion.
Is that the vision for the publishing company that you're creating, right? Because at some point, like you're the company that is now collecting all this data,
right?
So is it to now see the flaw in the system and say, all right, here's how we can correct it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely not our goal right now just because like, we'd have to go to foreign territories and establish that collection relationship.
Mm.
People do though. Like there's been pub companies that started and like, yo, I'm going to go to South Korea, but you're going to have to like go to South Korea and like sit down and you're going to have to go to Italy and talk to like the people over there in Germany and develop that one-on-one, like here's our license, here's our collection. So it's not feasible. So which is why there's like sort of a monopoly on publishing because whoever has those relationships already, you're just like, I'm gonna go to y'all. Who's gonna charge me the less to collect?
Who's taking the smallest percentage?
Who's taking the smallest percentage? But you think about it and it's like, if payments become, royalty calculations become a little bit more streamlined, we could see what money's out there because you know, the technology allows us to see it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time.
Yeah, y'all could be ringing off in South Africa right now.
Right now.
And
we know how much money we making and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to see how Web3 is really going to affect the music business. And this is another conversation that we was having with Chris Lyons the other night when he was just like, even talking about like crypto, right? And he was like, right now, everybody's looking at things singular. And it's going to make more sense when it's looked at as a collective. So as opposed to saying like, okay, crypto is separate from, you know, NFTs is separate from AI. It all got to work together. So the analogy that he gave was actually pretty brilliant, where he was like, okay, like GPS, right? GPS is a technology within itself. Payment processing systems is a technology within itself. And then a cell phone is a technology within itself. But nobody realizes that Uber is a combination of all of it, right? Like Uber, there's no Uber without GPS, but it just has to work. It's integrated in it, right? And then you need the payment processing system to work with the GPS. It's on your cell phone. Now you create Uber, right? Where it's like, there's no Uber without GPS technology, but you're not just looking at like GPS as its own separate entity. Like GPS is really integrated in everything that we do. You don't even realize that it's integrated in everything that we do, right? So it's like once the crypto and then once the blockchain and once the AI, all of that gets integrated in everything, now, like you said, like real-time royalty payments and different things of that nature, like it's all going to make a lot more sense. I feel like we're at the beginning stages and it's not making a lot of sense, but once it really starts to get a little bit more streamlined, integrated, all of this new technology is going to make a lot more sense and make it a lot more efficient.
Yeah, I don't know what song that was, but Nip was, remember, what song did Nip go on that, like that rant at the end of the song about new technology?
Oh, yeah. That's on the
mailbox money.
Yeah.
My big businesses folding and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember this distinctly. I was a freshman in Washington.
How you feel about AI? Because we see this stuff where like they had an Eminem song. You see that?
Yeah.
And they used the voice, and it sounds just like an Eminem song.
I was literally on CNN talking about AI and music. Like, and AI as a tool is great. We've been using AI to create music more efficiently and faster for a long time now. Like a lot of the products that producers and songwriters use to put out music quickly is AI driven. But, you know, pure generative AI music, right? So like actually like feeding, you know, the machine learning technology, feeding it songs from Eminem, Travis Scott, and then it producing a sound, an original song that is based off that work. It poses so many legal issues that it's not even, like
it was a producer. They were like, "Yo, let's put Timberland, Pharrell, Kanye, and let's make beats." And it made like 70 beats in an hour.
You just feed it to the machine and just it spits out a beat. And
ChatGPT would be like, "All right, sing me a song in a sad mood with a Louisiana accent,
right?
And it'll come out."
Or I can take Blxst's voice and I could be the person singing. And it's his voice on my body.
They had a DJ. I think it was one of these DJs. They played the record, and it was like 100,000 people there, and it was like, and they thought it was a new record. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't even know like this was just an AI driven. So as an artist, because that's kind of scary. Like, you know, art is supposed to be curated by, you know, it's a lot. Now, how do you feel about a machine just making art?
That's scary. It's scary. It's like. And then it's becoming so real where you can't even tell the difference. So it's just, I don't know, it's mind-boggling for me.
Yeah, that's a fact. So do you still practice law? Like, are you still, all right, you're running a label.
Yeah.
Are you the lawyer for the label as well?
Yeah, but we don't have much like, sure, for sure. Like, you know, I handle, you know, our contracts and stuff like that, like protect our analog file for trademarks, copyrights, for sure. I also think, we're definitely bringing some people on for that. But I still operate the Fowlkes firm in downtown Newark. And I have a associate attorney, I have an office manager. So I still take on some new business, but I've kind of transformed that practice to more of a like advocacy practice. Like, how can I like do some cool stuff in law to like, you know, I'm taking expungement cases, like stuff like that, just to kind of just make an impact.
It's also a good network. You know Vernon Brown?
I heard of Vernon Brown.
So
I think he's a teacher at Pace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Vernon Brown, he's I knew him my whole life actually, but he's Cash Money's lawyer.
Yeah.
And one of the most respected in the music business for a long time. But he's an adjunct professor at Pace.
Yeah.
Teaches law. But it's a great networking tool, and it's a great way to kind of stay sharp. and you meet a variety of different people by still practicing, still teaching, and
you learn
it all comes together.
Too.
Yeah,
Just like you know what deals are happening. It's like it's just so much of a benefit for my other business if I know like, oh, this is what the market rate is. Like this is what this guy signed a record contract for. It's like, you know, I feel like that information is invaluable.
So as a professor, right? You said you're a professor at Drexel.
Yep.
From a standpoint of creating curriculum, what are the things that you're seeing from your students that are like, yo, these are the things that they want to know versus these are the things that you should know?
Man, I'll be honest. I teach in a music business program. They want to know hip hop. Like the business of hip hop in Black culture is like the strongest thing ever. Like they have curriculum. My class is probably the hottest class at Drexel because every semester I'm bringing in guests. Like, and they just want to hear from like Tierra Wax Manager or whoever the hot artist is at that time. And those kids are producers. They're on Fruity Loops. They're like making beats. So I think it just gives me like insight on like how strong Black culture is and how strong hip hop is. Cause those kids at Drexel, they really want to work in the industry to kind of work on hip hop projects.
I want to get all you guys' perspective on this. Academic said something recently that got a lot of attention. He said that hip hop is becoming more and more regional and not global, where like Afro beats is a global form of music. And he was like, you know, hip hop is becoming a regional art form, not global. What's your thoughts on that?
Who going first?
I think you should.
I mean, I think so we just went on tour at the end of the year. We damn near toured the last 6 months. We had an Australian leg of tour. We had a European portion of the tour, and then we had obviously domestic. But just talking about those international plays for the most part, like Karl was saying, like Africa, Nigeria, 5-hour flight from London. So that's New York to LA. So it's like being able to tap in with European markets, all these Caribbean descendants and all these first generation African millennials and stuff like that are in our age bracket that's moving around the world. It's like they're servicing more of a global market anyway, but on the back end of it, it's like all of this is really, the essence of it is pulled from American hip hop culture. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't ever think that hip hop can become regional because all you hear in London is a version of drill music. That's all you hear. So it's like, you can't really say hip hop is becoming at all regional because we were in New Zealand and like, it was a girl trying to rap for us. Like, it was a New Zealand girl trying to rap for us. And she literally was trying to rap like the City Girls. And it's like, bro, that's not even you. Like that. Remember that? Like, we was sitting there having a conversation with her at a restaurant. Like, bro, that's not you. Like, it's not even gonna work. Like your accent, all that. When you start talking, the way you dress, none of it adds up with what you're trying to portray. So from the way that American accents are mimicked in the UK and every other part of the world, like people grow up practicing this and watching our TV shows. And pretty much, so you talked about Central C. Central C's #1 line about Doja Cat. You know what I mean? Like everybody quoting that. So I don't think at all it is really becoming regional now. Is the message starting to become repetitive? I do think that some of the message in hip hop is starting to become repetitive. But I feel like that's a whole nother conversation.
I would say, I feel like music itself is always regional. I think like only a certain level of song breaks through anyway, right? Like 20 years ago, like I think probably pro rata, like the same amount of songs were for breaking through from hip hop culture, like 50 Cent In the Club. Like we still got those records now, but like hip hop's regional. Like it is like it's just a regional but every genre is regional. Like you go to Brazil, they got their regional touch, but only a certain bracket of those songs break through globally, right? It's the same thing, yeah. And I think only a small fraction of songs from hip hop have breaking through globally. That's been the history of hip hop.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Karl said. Even just traveling, like going to Europe and stuff, seeing how it's artists that you never heard of, but you'll look them up, see they follow, and they're the biggest thing in that one section. So, in a sense, I feel like hip hop is regional, and music is just in a weird space. Like we just want change right now. It's like we feeling for something new. So, anything that's off the wall, left field, we just hold on to it. Like, yeah, this is it. This is the next thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like, and it comes in waves too, right? It's like, right now, reggaeton is huge, you know, because a lot of the artists, Bad Bunny and Well and all of them, it's a language barrier as well, because Spanish is spoken in half the world's population, so that gives them an advantage.
For sure.
And Afrobeats is on the rise right now, it's spreading, and I feel like hip hop is going through a remake. I feel like it's going through a remake, like, you know what I'm saying? And that happens. It's 50 years old. Like, it's like, this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop this year. So it's grown from, you know, just hip hop to the gang culture to the bad boy era to, you know, so it's over the drill music. So I feel like, you know, we're looking to see what's the next iteration of hip hop.
I think this is interesting. We're having a conversation with y'all because you've created Evgle. We were with Dougie Fresh, and he said there's 5 elements of hip hop. Right? He said there's the MC, there's the DJ, there's the graffiti, there's breakdancing, and he said no, this is real. This is real. He really said this to us, and he said the 5th one was him. He created the human beatbox, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? There's a 6th element that's being created right now, and it's the business of hip hop. And so the fact that Evgle is creating that, and obviously we're earning allegiance, and we always say like, yo, hip hop is at the core of what we do. I'm thinking now, like, you got all these verticals, right, on the landscape. What verticals do you think that you're missing or you want to add over the next couple of years?
Yeah. I would say really no vertical that we want to add other than like building a real company, like actually building something horizontally and vertically that we could sell. Like when a company does due diligence on Evgle, we want there to be like, you know, we have every HR policy. We have all the back end of what a real company looks like. So because I honestly feel like, you know, a lot of people from hip hop haven't been able to build like, or haven't had the experience to build something that was like, you know, the Google or like those real massive companies. So shout out to Larry Jackson. I saw that, you know, Gamma, you know, like stuff like that is really, really dope to see. So I think when they look under the hood, I just want, you know, Evgle to be like, man, that's a wide company. They got employees, you know, everyone has health, you know, everyone has health insurance, stuff like that, right? Yeah. Like that's a real company.
Yeah, I feel like when people talk like, yo, I got a label, right? You see an artist, I got a label. I often wonder, like, do they even know what it entails?
Is it staffed? Like, do y'all have meetings? Like, is there a schedule? Like, how are you guys holding each other accountable? Are there policies?
It becomes something different. Like, I'm an artist and I like you, so I'll sign you. How do I do that? I'll create a record label and now you're my artist. And now I have a record label.
I think that's the next 50 years of hip hop, right? I think, like, you know, it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop. How much of hip hop does Black people even own? Right? I know it's a really small number. I don't have the metrics, but people just don't own their masters. They don't own their publishing. So the next 50 years, it's about developing a business sophistication to properly staff and service your music in a way that you don't gotta, you know, hoe your stuff out. You don't gotta sell it to this company for no reason. So I think that's what we want to be known for. And people look under that hood, man, that's a strong company. You know, there's a lot of employees, there's a lot of reach. They're doing so many different things. They got competitive, you know, benefit packages, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think we just changed the term, Karl. We just did it. And since you're the entertainment lawyer, we're going to have to trademark this. Okay. This is the business education. This is going to be the 6th element.
6th element. Yeah, I like that.
So let me ask you this. You brought up a good point as far as selling your artists, your masters. This is something that's very popular these days. We just met somebody the other day that he's the one that brought Nicki Minaj's catalog. I don't even know she sold the catalog.
I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
I know where their office is, right?
I don't.
Okay. Well,
after this, we'll talk, Karl.
But we had Irv Gotti on his couch, and he sold his catalog for, I think, $200 million, right?
Yeah, the incentives to make it 300.
And he explained. So now, people, it's like the last 18 months, everybody's selling their catalog. Future, I just seen Metro booming.
So portion of his catalog. Yep.
It's like liquidation events, and they're getting valuations like tech companies. So that's obviously beneficial whenever you can get a lump sum of money, right? I always say, what people don't know about Elon Musk is that he actually sold PayPal for $100 million. And then went broke because he used that money to fund SpaceX and Tesla. Now he's the richest person in the world, and he's worth $200 billion, right? But it's like, he wouldn't have had SpaceX or Tesla if he didn't sell PayPal. But then there's another argument where people are like, well, we gotta hold on to what we create and we keep selling it. Da 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 da. So you're not buying that. What's your thoughts on people selling their catalogs and that? Would you guys ever want to do that at some point?
I actually want to hear Blxst's opinion on this.
I mean, it was 100% of it.
Yeah, I want to hear Blxst's opinion on this.
That's funny because every time I see like when they do a post of like how Metro sold his, it's always a rant in the comments like black people don't never keep with that.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
But you brought up a good point. It's like you have to take the stairs that you sold PayPal to, and people don't see the long-term play. You know, they focus on what you're doing right now. So I don't really know my answer to it, but I feel like I got to educate myself. But be patient and see the long play of why people doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Because of course you want to own it, but for what? It's not only about ownership, it's about controlling it too.
Yeah, I think too, it's like, you know, everybody else is building an exit, right? So it's like, even real estate, you invest in a real estate, you buy a real estate property for $50K and you sell it for $1 million. That's a steal, right? I don't know what the X is on that, but like there's always a time where it makes sense to sell an asset to get other assets and to build other stuff. That's like literally what everybody else is doing. So there was I don't know what company. So there was I think it was like a hair product company.
Yeah.
That sold.
We know the guy. We just had this conversation.
Yeah.
We were just with her yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was the same outrage that Blxst kind of spoke about, where everyone was like, "Yo, why are you selling? You know, a black-owned company?" And it was like
the Millie brand.
Yeah. It's like, yo, they came up like.
That's when we asked Herb. First time we met Herb, he was like, you know, people ask me, you know, why I sold my master. He's like, I got 100 million. People ask me why I sold it, and say, because I got 100 million. That's why I sold it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think we really have to do a better job of educating black people that it's not. And some of it is valid because, you know, we have a lot of trauma. So whenever we see QC or whatever, it's like, oh, you sold out.
It's over.
But other people never get that. You never see the white people like, yo, Elon Musk sold out. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're like, all right, this is business. This is what he's doing, whatever. But for black people, it happens all the time. Whether it's hair care, whether it's music, it's like, you sold out. And then it'd be like that. She got like hate mail. Like people like really.
I had a conversation with her last night about it. And it was like, it didn't hurt as bad because she had somebody to pattern it off of. So like Rich Lou, Dennis, who is, you know, over at Essence, in charge of Essence, he sold Shea Moisture. It was a $1.6 billion deal.
Jesus Christ.
1.6. And so like when she was interested in going down that avenue, thinking about selling, like, well, she had him to lean on. And the problem is like, we don't see it, right? Like even the people that we know that are wealthy or are billionaires, they're all first generation. I said this the other day, but they're learning too, right? And so as they learn, they're going to have to educate. And like, that's part of our role, right? Like sitting down with these people to educate people on the structure of creating an asset and selling an asset. And then maybe creating more assets. Right. But we're so stuck on like, we have that financial trauma. It's like, yo, you sold out, the product ain't the same.
Yep.
How it ain't the same? How you know it ain't the same? No, you gotta change the chemicals, bro. Nah, it's something different. My hair, it's like, yo, bro, like really? But I think what you said, and I love it, I meant to say it earlier, was like, when we think of business, we talk in terms of companies. But when we talk music, we talk in terms of labels. But what you like, I'm listening as
what's
you talk.
A manager? It's an operator. What's a
right?
What's a,
so you're not creating. It's not a record label. This is a record company. We're in the business of music. But when we change that language, it feels like it's like this is a label. I got an artist and now I have a label. But do you have a company?
It's elementary. You know, it's something that like again like it's how we control the next 50 years of black music. Like. Just changing the way we think about it. Like really trying to build a company and owning every process of it, learning how we distribute, like, you know, bridging the gap on connections overseas, like just owning those processes. Like that's how we do it the next 50 years.
Yeah. Another thing, going back to this selling, we had a conversation with Rich and he was saying, what people don't talk about is what happens if you don't sell. Because we know that the vast majority of businesses don't make it to be a second generation business. It's even higher for black businesses, right? So he brought up one company, I won't mention their name, but a very successful black legacy brand. And he was like, at the peak of their success, like in the 90s, the company was worth like $600 million. And now the company's worth $30 million. So nobody tells that story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like that's another part of the coin too. Like, damn, like you had it up here and then you wrote it all the way down here, and then your crazy. Kid ends up messing it up, and and it's like.
I think that's like a Dr. Dre situation though, right? Like Dr. Dre was averaging like 10 million a year, sold it for 200, and it's like shit. You just had like a brain aneurysm, just had divorce. So it's like, damn, my next 20 years, like who is gonna be able to operate this creativity like me? And you already hear like crazy stories of Dr. Dre, how he like super anal in the studio and stuff like that. So I can only imagine him thinking like, do I want X, Y, and Z that is in my vicinity to be taking control of this and not treating it the right way? Or would I rather cash out on my next 20 years of what I was already making and make those investments for the long term, like y'all was saying, sell that PayPal, really?
Yeah, and just put up the bumpers.
Yeah.
Right? Like put up the bumpers for the next generation. So like, you can't mess this up.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you try, you couldn't.
Yeah, and I think this is like directly correlated to like, you think about like, natural selection and like Darwinism and like those theories about how you like over time it takes small portions to like, you think about like what birds or something like that in the Amazon, like 50 years ago their beak might have been like 2 inches shorter, but now as climate changes, all that stuff changes over time, the bird changes. So I think as far as the business, it go the same way. Like it take a future or a Metro Boomin or a Dr. Dre or a Jay-Z to make these type of investments and sell these companies to be able to jump to that next level of business executiveship to be like, oh, okay, now it goes from us just being the supplier of the product to us having say in what product is the next product. So I think as that keeps rolling over, like you said, these next 50 years, we'll see a whole different turnaround just because little by little we'll start to see more people in position, hopefully, that'll change the tide of the gatekeeping.
Yeah, and there'll be more capital, right? There'll be more people that look like us that have more capital, more decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, all right, let's talk about the future for Evgle. So, how many you have artists on the label now? How many artists you have?
One signed artist. Hopefully another one soon.
Singer or a rapper?
He's literally like a baby blast.
Like a baby blast. A baby blast. Yeah. Maybe not. Let's not call him a baby blast. He might not appreciate that.
Yeah. I want to say it right. Is it J Million?
J Million.
Yeah.
Million.
Yeah,
all right.
We'll say he's another 100%er. Pretty much. He
writes
his music.
Oh yeah.
Plays instruments.
He produced half the Bino and Blxst project, 6tape too.
Okay.
Yeah, so you hear his tag all through that project.
So what's the goal as far as what's the vision for Evgle in the next 5 to 10 years? Across all verticals.
Yeah. I mean, I think one is making sure that what Karl mentioned earlier, like our employees, the artists that are with us, like it's important for us all to be on the same page on structurally how we move. So I think that's the baseline of it. Like even with us having J Million as an artist, we pour into him just as much as a human being as we pour into him musically and like business wise. Because if he don't have the regular human intangibles, he's not gonna go that far regardless if we on his side or not. Because we not with him 100% of the time. But we taking every effort right now from the people we hiring right now, people we letting go, all that type of stuff. All that goes into what this long-term vision for Evgle is, and that is to grow vertically and to grow horizontally too.
Blxst, from a music standpoint, we got Nas, worked with, Kendrick, worked with, Dollar Sign, Snoop.
Ross.
Who's on the list that we haven't gotten?
I say Pharrell. I say that in every interview though. But I think my biggest goal is to like have a project executive produced by Pharrell. That's one of my biggest things. But in terms of like an artist collaborating, I feel like I'm still establishing myself in my own voice and my own narrative. So that's my main focus.
Yeah. Your music is very it's a high vibration music.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not depressing music. That's important. That's important.
And people vibe to it. Every time, like, I feel like when you put out new music, I can count on Russell Westbrook to be in his car listening to it.
Oh, bro, I was there last night.
Yo, I'm like, yo, Russ, like y'all must have grown up together. Yo, I went when you put Still On My Way. Yo, that just kept ringing on my timeline. I'm like, yo, I gotta go download this song.
Shout out Brody, man. He pulled up last night to the release.
That's all.
Good dude.
So, now we appreciate y'all guys, man. Anything else y'all want to let the people be aware of? The project's out now.
Project Just for Clarity 2. Go run that up for me. Much love to everybody that tapped in. Eagle Gang.
Yeah, we got Mustard producing on there.
Yeah.
Roddy Ricch is on the project.
Terrace Martin, Larry June. Yeah.
Major.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Anything else?
No, we good.
Good money.
I appreciate you guys.
Yo,
man.
I want to just say this really quickly because I don't know how we went through this whole interview, like with having Blxst here and Shotty not mentioning that his nickname is Blxst. That's crazy. Yo, how did we get through this whole thing without you even saying that?
Well, so there's a story. I spell it different. I spell it the regular way.
Thought, yo, honestly, when I used to get in his car and he'd be playing your music, I'm like, yo, he only rock when it like it's there. I'm like, this dude's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'll take it.
That definitely. So, all right.
Welcome, audience.
That's a very, not a lot of people know that, but my name is Rashad.
Okay.
So, growing up, my nickname was Shotty. That's like a lot of people didn't even know my name was Rashad for a long period of time because everybody just called me Shotty. Yeah. And then like my real close friends, like around like family, like they call me Blxst.
That's crazy.
So that was like, that still is like people like, I know like if somebody really, like they call me Blxst, like I know that they really, really know me.
You're not going to give it.
So
you're not going to give us the insight how you got that name?
Blxst?
Yeah.
Tell me how you got the name.
Well, so I used to play ball, and another one of my friends, Tawan,
what up?
It's just like Shotty Blxst, like a shotgun blast.
Shotgun blast.
Yeah. But there was no actual firearms in this.
It was the
shooter. I had a ratchet. I had a ratchet, not a ratchet. So I'm not trying to be John Morant. Shout out to John. But I'm actually a big fan of your music, man, and I appreciate it. My son is tired of hearing me play it because I play you and Tim's all the time in my car. He's like, yo, can we listen to something else? I'm like, what do you want to listen to? He's like, drill music, DD Osama, and all. I'm like,
no, thank you.
We're not listening to that in the car.
Oh.
But it's actually really, like I said, it's a high vibration.
For me.
It's a dope vibe, and I like it. I actually like the music.
That's love.
So whenever we get a chance to talk to people that we're actually fans of, that even makes the conversation even better.
Yeah.
It's like I'm actually a fan of the music. And now knowing you guys, I'm a fan of what you guys are doing business-wise. I feel like, you guys definitely have a great head on your shoulder and got a vision for what you want to do. So anything that we can do to help you guys, like I said, definitely try to connect you with A16Z. That's easy. And anything, stop by the coffee shop too in Newark.
Yes, sir.
What's the name of the coffee shop?
It's a wine bar. It's
wine bar, my bad.
Consigliere.
Consigliere. When is it open?
August.
Okay.
Consigliere.
Okay. It's going to be like a nightlife vibe?
Yeah, Jersey's a place that everyone's asking me like, yo, when you leaving Jersey type.
When are you leaving Jersey? Why are you in Jersey? Shout out to Jersey.
Yeah, I'm actually from like South, like right near Philly, so I'm like Camden County.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
No, you don't live in Camden, obviously.
I live in Newark.
The One Wag. Are you from Camden?
Nah, but I didn't grow up.
So one step up. Shout out to everybody in Camden.
Shout out to DeJuan Wagner and the whole Camden.
Yeah. Like my grandpa's like he was like one of the early like first black students so I at Camden High. So it was like a very interesting like to see Camden the way it is now is definitely different for me. It wasn't the history of Camden is like very the RCA plant was there. Mm-hmm. Like it's like a Midwest city in the middle of New Jersey. Yeah. Like factories left and it's just abandoned.
I've been to Camden once.
Yeah.
It was like I went to a water park out there. I was like, oh man. Damn. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what water park.
Yeah. I said, yeah, we can't come. Is there another one they got?
Jersey. Shout out to Jersey, man.
Yeah.
But Newark.
Yeah.
But Newark is actually in the process of changing though.
Yeah, you can see it, man. I moved there during the pandemic. I was actually living in Camden County That's where my first law office was. So I was doing a lot of deals. And actually, I think where Wallow and Gilly actually record was where my office was at. So I was doing it there and then moved up to Newark during the pandemic. And I just saw it. You just see it. Like, marijuana is legal in Jersey. Newark, there's an international airport, 20-minute train ride into the city. Black culture hub, like literally black mayor, black congressman, like all types of stuff. So you could just see the fabric of the city. Like, man, this is a place you can afford. You could help sort of shape the next 50 years of, and we just don't have stuff to do. It's like, so I'm like, all right, let's get that wine bar popping.
Dope. Yeah. Let us know, man. We know a few people out there too. So shout out to Ladun. You know Ladun? My God versus my enemies. You ever see those shirts? Yeah. He has.
You know what guy?
Yeah. Solid dude too.
I gotta connect with him.
Yeah.
Solid.
Good dude. All right, my guys. Yep. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for waking up early.
Sure.
That says a lot too. No, I know, y'all just had the party yesterday. So I appreciate y'all waking up early, man. And once again, man, love is love.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.